and you can move that thing around wherever you feel necessary.
All right. I'm good right there.
Got it?
Got it.
Yeah. Come to me, JC. Yeah, I'm going to leave the jacket on. I'm cold anyway. But with these discussions, we want to give the folks as much of you as possible.
Gotcha.
The idea is transparency, sharing your journey, your story, and we will make it impactful. I don't think that's going to be a difficult concept to grasp in this.
Awesome. Well, I'm ready.
Okay. JC, I'm ready when you are. Hold on just a moment.
Let's go to church.
Key Factors Podcast. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast, Real Estate AF, where the AF stands for And Finance, and I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. And on the past couple of episodes, we've been talking about business planning. We've been talking about people revving up, getting ready for 2025. Talking about consistency and game plans and what it takes to be a top producing agent despite the market conditions. But I want to change the pace a little bit today. Every so often, I come across someone on social media in passing that I just need to hear their story. And after hearing their story, I just have to help you guys hear their story as well. So today I've brought along a guest. Just recently got an opportunity to meet him last night at EXP Mixer, and I'm excited to share some discussions with him today. So without further ado, I want to introduce Rudy Sedano. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Mark.
Yep.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
This is so cool.
Isn't that
podcast cool? Man, maybe a KSAT or somebody will pick me up.
There you go. You never know. You never know.
Yes.
So Rudy, if you could, just to kind of kick this off, tell us a little bit about you first, and then I want to dive deeper, go further back. So right now, who is Rudy? What are you doing?
Yeah, so Rudy is a very transparent guy. It was crazy, right? Because where I come from and where I'm at now, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know what I'm saying? So first of all, I'm a father. Man, that's the biggest thing. And the second thing is, I'm a real estate agent that is a hustler, and that's key, because I provide for my children.
Yeah.
But I'm very open. I'm an open book, very transparent, because I had a journey, and I think we all have a journey, right? And that's great that I get to share it, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that know about it, but now I get to share it with more people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in real estate, how many years you been doing real estate?
Yeah. So it's going on my 13th year already.
Okay.
It's been fun.
And not a single gray hair on this guy.
Man.
Not a one.
I'm going to be 50.
Love it.
And tatted. Oh my God.
That's right.
Yeah.
50 tatted and self-employed,
Yes.
making your own way.
Yes, definitely.
So let's get into your journey, how you became a real estate agent. Prior to that, where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Yeah. So originally, I grew up in California.
Okay.
And then at the age of 12, my mom picked us up and we kind of came down to the valley. And man, that's where the hard work came. So my grandpa was the one and he put so much in us, which is crazy. So if I get emotional, hey, it's all good, right?
Hey,
you know
man, I'll be right there with you.
You know, so my grandpa.
Matter of fact, I haven't had my testosterone shot not till tomorrow, so
God.
we're good. We're good.
So my grandpa, we lived on a ranch, which was crazy, right? So our summers, we didn't have summers. We worked out in the fields. Man, I did picking. Man, there was all kinds of stuff. It's crazy, right? So at 13, I was working in the watermelon field.
Okay.
So at 13, I was buff, man, super buff. It was crazy, right?
That hustle muscle.
Yeah, definitely. But man, the thing is that I'm so humble from where I grew up at. And, my grandpa put a lot of work in us, and that's where the work ethic is. And the thing is, the craziness because I can never stay still. Like I always got to go, and
Right.
try to figure out what's the next thing. What's the next thing? You know what I'm saying? And then my daughter's like, Dad, like you got to chill. Like we're watching a movie. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely.
No, I definitely relate to that. I think nowadays they call it ADD, ADHD. Back then they just called us problem child, you know.
Yep.
Little did we know, or little did they know, we'd
Yep.
grow up and rule the world.
Yep, definitely.
But yeah, let's dive a little deeper. So once you made the transition over, you learned plenty from your grandfather, and you grew up. And how did you make it to San Antonio?
Yeah. So, man, it was crazy. So I was 21 years old.
Okay.
And got kind of sidetracked, you know, and I decided I was gonna move to San Antonio, and I got here and it was worse. Man, I fell into some deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
when you say deep stuff, just because we are being transparent, and I've told my story here before in regards to the extracurricular things that I was doing, that essentially at a certain point I had to go, this shit is going to have me winding up dead in jail or worse. And it cognitively is something that you have to make a decision to get away from, actively get away from. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I came to San Antonio, and then I started running with the wrong crowd, and I got, on some stuff, and by the grace of God, it was done, and saying like, God got a hold of me, shook me, and man, it's a whole different animal, you know what I'm saying? And I look back because I talked to my oldest now, and she's like, Dad, and I'm like, yeah, like there was one time I was driving around San Antonio, and it took me 8 hours to get home, and I didn't know where I was, you know what I'm saying? And so I look back, and I'm just like, man. And then the crazy part, like I'll just tell you all in a nutshell. Somebody said, oh, well, let's go to church. I'll go, but don't expect anything.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden, I'm in church. I'm sitting on a board. I'm a this, I'm a that. And then, anyway, so here I am now, right?
That's
it's
right.
all good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that in itself is something to hone in on, because I'm going to take a leap of faith in saying that most folks that have become successful at their craft, whatever it may be, at some point in time, had a reckoning, had something happen to them that they had to make that decision to change paths, change courses. But it also speaks to the person in itself, that you push the boundaries, you go that extra mile, you, hey, don't look behind that curtain. I'm going to take a peek. Why? I don't know. I don't know why we do what we do, but we end up learning and growing a little bit faster, more than most, simply because we are, I don't want to say unafraid. It's like this restrictor has been taken off.
Yep.
The governor, like when you take the governor off of a go-kart and it goes faster. Well, that's kind of how we roll, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's, let's talk about what things happen, right? So,
yeah. So now.
Yeah. So now comes the good stuff, right? So I got my life together. Not perfectly, right? But I found a passion, and I became a lumber salesman, and it was crazy. Like I was selling like lumber packages, big ones for big houses. And when the recession came, like it came so quick. And long story short, the company I was at, a bunch of guys jumped, and I was the last guy on the totem pole, and I jumped. Well, when I jumped, heavens would I know that I would get into a non-compete and got sued.
Lawsuit. Full-blown lawsuit.
Wow. And I get a call from an officer and says, hey, I got to give you this. He's like, it's kind of weird. Cease and desist. It's just weird. I've never done this. And I was like, okay. So I get it. I go to the company and it's like, hey, just let me go. Don't worry about it. I don't want no issues. They're like, no, don't worry about it. Okay. Another time. Again, I go back. They're like, no, don't worry about it. Long story short, I find myself in court one day, 8 hours. I'm on the stand. I get through the ringer. And it's crazy because through that process to get there, I'll never forget, like just walking out of my mailbox and just tons of letters of discovery and blah, 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 this and that. And then
Now, mind you, this is civil court, not criminal case law, right? So essentially, they're not going after you to put you behind bars. They're going after you because they're trying to take you for all you're worth.
Yep, exactly.
Go for it.
And it got to the point, like, you've ever heard where people say, like, oh, they're getting sued and they get sick. And, well, that was the guy, right? And it got to the point where I was just, like, miserable. I gave up. And long story short, we get to court, we go through the process. The judge is like, what are you doing to this guy? Like, he's just a sales guy. Dismiss, pay him a little bit of money. It was done. And the attorney said, like, hey, they may come back again. Well, lo and behold, weeks later, federal.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow. But not me. It was me and some other people, right?
Sure.
So luckily, the judge over that one, before even getting to go, he sees it. He's like, guys, you already took him to this, and the state said no. Like, it's not happening here, right?
Right.
So it was a 2-year process.
Ugh. And I want to hone in on something that you just mentioned, which is the idea of going through that level of stress within your world that you are not used to whatsoever. It is a game changer. Why? We're not attorneys. We don't know any of that jargon and stuff. We just know that somebody is after us, and they've got all of this literature to prove whatever their case is to be true. And you mentioned that brings upon this health sickness, this drain on your well-being. And I can see that not just from this scenario, but there's plenty of folks out there that are going through something that is paralyzing them. Paralyzing them from doing what it takes to be them each day, eating right, working out, sleeping right, and it diminishes your well-being. And at a certain point, that person is either going to slip further into this abyss, or they're going to change their course. Was there anybody in your life that helped change that course? Because, I mean, at that point, when you're going through this 2-year period, it's like, whoa, the blows have finally stopped. Bang, you get hit with something else.
Yeah, it was, the crazy part while going through this whole process, right? Like, I was defeated. I was already like depressed, and I would actually park my vehicle on the side of the street. And there was a reason why I did that, so that the repo guy could just come and pick it up easy.
You had already assumed, had this idea of that.
Yeah, because it just kind of like, I didn't know what to do anymore. And I would wake up every morning and I would open the curtain just to see if the vehicle was there, because I had everything racking up, right? And when this finished, it was crazy. It was like it was done, right?
Big old weight, yeah.
And then I was like, I got offered like, hey, come back to the industry. And I was like, nah, I'm going to pursue something else. And I was kind of like waiting, and I was like, God, what do I do? And it was like, oh, real estate. I was like, all right. And I'm like, well, I'm not a tester. You know what I'm saying? I'm a people person. I'm street smart. I'm, all that.
Right.
And started studying, started getting all my stuff done, and get ready to go take the test. And driving in the morning, I'm like, oh, nervous. I'm like, I'm not a tester. You know what I'm saying? And then I hear something, and it's like, you're going to be okay. Right? And sure enough, I'm like, all right, cool. I get to the place, and they're like, oh, you have your ID? I'm like, oh, man, I forgot my ID. I was like, oh, my God. So many things happened, right?
Sure.
Got everything situated, took the test. Thing pops up. It's like, oh, you passed. I start crying. I'm like, what? I passed. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
and those tests, man, I remember, matter of fact, I'm getting ready to retest so that I can become licensed in all over the United States. But I remember taking that first test for my license. As a matter of fact, before that, I took the Series 63-7 for securities license to be able to trade.
Wow.
And you study, you do all the studying. Oh my God. Then you finally get there, you hit submit, and it's like this moment that just freezes in time. And then whoop, it pops up. It tells you whether you passed or failed right now. Yep. There is no grading your test. There is no, we'll call you tomorrow. You know, when you get up, whether you passed or failed.
Yep.
So at that point, you passed.
I passed. And I'm just like, is that right? And she's like, yeah, you passed. I was like, all right.
All right, let me get the fuck out of here.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like ready to go. Like, it's a new start, right? And it's crazy because then I had been shadowing during that time, and I was a guy that would show up at 7:00. And the reason I shadowed was because when I got my license, I didn't want to like drain somebody out. Like, hey, what do I do, right? And I got the opportunity to shadow for like 5 months, and then comes out and it's like, hey, great, start. And back then it was like 80,000, 75.
Yeah,
It was
sales
like,
prices
I
and
was
whatnot.
like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We get some money. And Mark, it was crazy because I was shadowing for all these months. I didn't have an income. I'm just like, man, I was behind on everything, but I knew at some point, like, hey, things would turn around. And I started getting clients and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna tell you a story that's just.
But before you do, I want to hone in on something that you mentioned there that comes up quite often amongst the top producers, the experts, is the idea or the lack of drive that the newer to the business loan officers have or don't have in the idea of shadowing. It's like, whatever I do, I need to get paid for it. Yeah, but have you really put in the time to even learn your craft? And many of us did shadow as we were going through the ranks, so to speak.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and again, the shadowing was more for me because I always want to learn and I want to make sure, because at the end of the day, like, again, like I said, I didn't want to be draining somebody and being like, hey, like, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Right. And I started getting, business, and then it was crazy because I'm at home cutting my grass, and I'm just like, man, everything's piling up, and I get a call from the loan officer I was dealing with, and I'll never forget this. And to the day, like some people have heard, where she calls me, she says, honey, green hair, purple hair, red hair, I don't care. All your deals are falling apart. And I sat there and I said, no, they can't. I need the money. She's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, honey. She says, so-and-so bought a ring and his debt to income and all this. And I just was like, man, I need these deals. Look, I'm behind on my mortgage. I'm behind on everything. And think about it. I just got out of everything else, right?
Yeah.
And I sat there. She's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And so I had met somebody prior to that, like a week before, and had come over to the office and was kind of cocky, and I was just like, yeah. And, everybody promises you the world. You get with me, I'm going to take you to the moon and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
And at that point I had to make a decision, and I said, man, you pick up the phone and you call and you just say, hey, look, I need your help. And that's what I did. And I called and said, hey, I need your help. And he's like, what's going on? I said, well, I got some deals. I'm behind on my mortgage and don't got no money. And, so.
Was it that person?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. And it was crazy because he helped me out.
Good guy.
Saved three out of 5. Had some money. I think I had, like, when it was said and done, like $4,200. You know what I'm saying? So I was excited. And helped me out. And then I said, look, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, and I'm ready, right? And you heard, right, when they say this when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
It will appear. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I was ready, and so I started doing everything he starts telling me. He's like, hey, you got to do this. You got to go find people with 620 credit score, 640. And I went out and did it. And now is where the real journey starts, right? So I'm got a little bit of business going, and then I'm a diehard Saints fan. So I'm not gonna lie.
Who dat,
baby? Yeah. So I end up getting invited, right, on this awesome Sunday night game, and it's crazy. So it's Dane Schrader, Ken Davis, Patrick Conaway, and there was another guy on there. And we get to ride on this awesome thing, and I get there, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, who are these guys, right? And I sit down in my chair, and I'm just like,
now, were y'all drove to the stadium? What was?
No. So apparently, I call him my coach, but and saying he had gotten some big old thing on auction, and it was a private jet thing. It was so cool. Right? It was so cool. It was like it's get ready, man. It's gonna blow your mind, right? So I sit down in the jet, and I'm just like, wow, this is cool, right? But I remember, like, okay, one, you just be quiet, you listen. They make more money than you, and that's it, right? And everybody's talking, and I'm just listening. I'm just like glued in,
Just
right?
absorbing, soaking it up.
Yeah. And even at this time, Ken Davis told me once, he's like, I remember you were sitting there and you were just taking it all in. I could see this in your eyes, right? Because I just wanted to know.
Of course.
And we go, I spend the whole day and we're flying back and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning, right? And Dayton Schrader knows this because he knows it, right? And he gets up and he's like, hey guys, we're in the top 1%. We make a lot of money. So when you guys get off, make sure you tip pilots $200 a piece. Man, I reach in my pocket and I had $20, Mark. And at that point I said, man, what is gonna fucking change? So the door opens, man, and I fucking just jet to my car and I sit there and I'm like, it's 1:30 in the morning already. And I sit there and I was like, man, what's gonna change, bro? You got $20 to your name and you're trying to make it to next Friday and just to put gas. And that was it. And after that, like something hit me. And I said, they put their shoes on the same way. They put their pants. The emails go the same way. It doesn't matter. I pick up the phone the following morning. I'm in my office. I'm starting calling all kinds of real estate friends. I'm like, hey, I'm starting a team. And everybody's like, man, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, by the time you know it, I have all these people coming to join me, right? I'm fucking doing everything wrong. Yeah. And it's so crazy because from that point, I never looked back. And the amount of money I've made has been crazy. But it was that one little thing that triggered when I reached in my pocket and said, I'm broke, man. I'm fucking broke.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I go back and I look and it's just like, wow. And then I started getting into coaching and everything like that. And then, you start making some money and you're like, yeah, I'm good, right? So Dayton's getting ready to interview me. I totally remember, and it's crazy, right? So had a conference with him, and I had to send him all my paperwork, and so he's like, oh. I was like, yeah, Dayton, I got some money. Like, oh yeah, got some money. He's like, but you're one flat tire from being broke. And I was like, no, I got money in the bank. So I didn't get it what he said.
And at that time, there's plenty there that I'd like to dissect in regards to what took place, what was happening, why that was so impactful in your life at the time, based on what you've had gone through thus far. Nothing but adversity. Yep. Everybody's against me. And I'm sure that was the mindset, because it's like, Jesus Christ, at what point in time are the blows going to stop?
Yep.
You finally made it out of that. You're changing your life. You're changing the course and direction that your sales are headed. You get in the room with the folks that was the goal all along. Getting into this business, in any business, entrepreneur mindset, I would like to get into the doors and the rooms that I never thought I could.
Yep.
And you are soaking up, and instead of being on the plane and acting like you're somebody else or pretending to be at work in this facade, the idea of fake it till you make it, with you're soaking it up like a sponge. You're taking everything that they have to give. And for the folks out there listening, this is way more common than you think. Top producers, successful business owners, entrepreneurs, more times than not, they're going to share their story. They're going to share their trade, their craft, how they do it, etc. It gives them just as much gratification as it should you hearing it, soaking it up. With your situation, it hit you like a ton of bricks, guaranteed. It was like this moment where you were like, shit, they're going to out me. I'm about to be discovered for what I am, or at the time, what you believed you were.
Yep.
And that, I would imagine, was probably, I'm not worthy. That being said, you fast forward, you start doing the things that it takes to become a top producer before you even knew that this is the right way to go about it. Yep. Now, damn all that. They're doing these things. I'm going to do these things.
Yep.
And fast forward, I would imagine that you've got a pretty extreme gratification, not only for that moment, that story, what you went through, but for the people that didn't judge you for what you had in your pocket at the time.
Yep.
They saw the potential. They saw the hunger. They saw this man that was sponge worthy.
Yep.
And they said, okay, that does not change how we view you in regards as the whole. And I think that that's powerful in many eyes because most are scared to even put themselves in the situation like that.
Yep.
Many would have said, yeah, I'd love to go on that with you guys, but they'll make something up. Why? Because they don't want to be discovered.
Yep.
For you, I think maybe you were even too naive to think about that concept. It was just like, I'm fucking flying by the seat of my pants. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's, it's crazy because that day changed my life. And it's crazy because you post it on Facebook and it pops up as a memory and you look back and you're like, wow, it's like, but I remember just sitting there and just absorbing it and taking it in. And then when reality hit you, it's like, hey, you're broke. Like you're literally broke. And then sitting in my car at 1:30 in the morning and just be like, well, it's going to change. And now it's like, it's so cool because like I'm consistent. Everything I do, it's like my business is 98% referrals. Like that's it, and the key of everything from that whole experience was me not letting it go to waste, right?
Absolutely.
Because here's what happens,
Absolutely.
right? Here's what happens. And let's be very open, right? People go to church and they get all fired up and they come out and then Monday comes and life hits them and they're like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They go to the conference and come back and they're all excited. Nah, man.
That's right.
That right there was like, boom. And here I am 8 years later and never looked back, right?
Right.
And that's the crazy part because the craft, like basketball players, football players, everybody works on their craft.
Mm-hmm.
But as self-employed people, we don't want to work on our craft and we have to.
You're exactly correct.
Like, hey, you're the best pen salesman. Like, sell me this fucking pen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, check it out. It's white. It's got this, it's that, right? But people don't want to do that.
Right.
Right. They get so nervous. Like, hey, you're a product. You got to work on it, right?
That's
so
right.
I'm consistently working on myself. Like, hey, like I want to be the best. Like, I want to be the best. Like, when you talk to me, like you can fucking feel my energy come
100%.
through and be like, oh man, like I want to do business with this guy, right? Like, hey, like, what do you're a first time buyer. Cool, man. Let me ask you, did you serve in the military? Yes. Oh man, thanks for your service. Like, hey, so VA and you got to know your craft, right? Like, hey, FHA, wow, 3.5%, conventional, hey, up to 520, all that stuff. You got to work on your craft.
Yeah.
You got to shake hands, kiss babies. You got to do all that.
And that's the piece right there that I want to dive into a little bit. I just had a meeting with my loan officers. We went over our 25 business plan. And prior to that, I was listening to a podcast, Patrick Bet-David, PBD podcast, and he mentioned something that stuck. Now, this is not something that is profound unless you make it profound, meaning take it and actually apply it. And he said, you are one relationship away from your life changing. And it's like, well, what do you mean? You were one relationship away from your life changing. And had you not had that experience and reached in your pocket and went, oh shit, I don't have that. And all of the things, it probably wouldn't have led to the same outcome. But you put yourself in the position to experience that, good, bad, or ugly.
Yep.
Then taking that experience and using it as the fuel that fucking made this engine go.
Yep.
That happened from one instance. And I'm sure there has been plenty of other instances where that one next relationship changed your life as well. For the folks out there listening, the idea behind having opportunities to have that next relationship change your life, you've got to put yourself in the position for that to happen. And what you're talking about is the consistency of doing these needle-moving activities, the idea of working on your craft and studying your craft so that when that opportunity comes about, you can actually rise to the occasion, show that you are the expert, guide, and with a clear, conscious mind, body, and soul, advise these folks to the point that they go, damn, that's our guy moving forward.
You hit something, right? So craft, relationships, this is where people don't understand, right? Relationships are key, right? So when you're running that 98% referral, it's insane, right? And I'll tell you something, because I was selling a commercial building off of Hildebrand, I remember. And this guy called me and says, hey, I want to see it and all that, right? You had to be the best at your craft, right? Never met him, show up, boom. Well, guess what? 10 years to the date, almost, still my client. Guess how much he's purchased with me in 10 years?
I had no clue. I mean,
29 million.
Wow.
10 years.
One person, one relationship that changed your life.
Yes.
And his, mind you, because he wouldn't have continued to come back had you not provided the value that you did.
Yep. And the crazy part, he's a business guy.
Yeah.
He's very wealthy. And that relationship off of a phone call. And it's like, wow. And then I've built more relationships of just people, right?
Right.
Another one, gentleman. Guy walks in, suitcase, sees me. He's like, this guy's all tatted up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. He's like, I've got, I remember, he's like, I got 800,000 in the bank. I want to buy rentals. And I looked at him and said, first of all, I'm going to be very respectful. I said, you're old. Why do you want rentals? You want people to call you to tell you that their shitter is plugged up? And he looked at me and was like, well, then tell me what to do. And I said, yeah, let's take the cash, buy some houses, owner finance, buy them cash, put them owner finance, 13%. It's got a nice portfolio now.
Ooh.
See what I'm saying?
So taking what you know about the idea of making money with money, and you learn that in real estate, you learn that lumber sales, all of the things accumulated to go, you know what? This is what his goal was.
Yep.
He thought he knew best.
Yep.
And because he had the money, if he talked to anybody else, they would have went, okay, sounds good. Let's go. But with you, you stood behind what you believed in, the advice that you were about to provide, because he doesn't do real estate.
Yep.
However he made his money, that's how he made his money. But he's coming to you because he doesn't do real estate.
Yeah.
He wants to get into it. You're telling him, this is how you do real estate the way you're trying to do real estate to get that goal across.
Yeah.
Not, I'm here to make the next buck. No, I want to help you build your empire, but this is probably a better route.
Yeah.
And the idea of him owning those rental properties, having the property maybe make a little bit of margin each month. He pays his taxes, so he gets the write-offs over here. Dealing with all this bullshit. I've been a landlord. I get it. It's not always as difficult as they make it sound. I will tell you that right now. But the idea of something he probably never even fathomed was, let's buy this, turn them around and sell them to someone else that maybe can't qualify, maybe doesn't know what they want to do themselves.
Yep.
And I become the bank. So not only is he getting to retain a home until it's paid off, but he's going to make the interest based on an amortization schedule where, just in case you guys don't know, he's going to make his money before you pay that off.
Yep.
The money's made up front, essentially, when you are in a mortgage loan. In fact, did you know that mortgage comes from the term death contract?
No. Oh my.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I found that out the other day, and it was like, I sent it to all my loan. I was, hey, you guys ready to go give out some death contracts? They were like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the term mortgage comes from death contract.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, and you know the cool part, like he built a portfolio, and then we did some other stuff, and then he ended up purchasing a 30-unit hotel in Carrizo Spring that still runs. So, and I know that down the road when he's ready to sell, I'm going to sell it. We've had a great relationship, like two different people, right?
Sure.
Like he's older gentleman, comes from money.
Probably doesn't have no tattoos.
Doesn't have any, but loves me to death. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I mean, it's all about the craft. Like you want to go into a room where like people like they see you and they're like, man, you got to go talk to that guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
not walk into a room and be like, oh, there's that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Nah, you gotta your presence. And that's why you gotta work on your craft. Like That's why football players work on their craft,
Mhm.
basketball players work in their craft. I mean, everybody's got to work on their craft, because if you can't, then how are you going to be able to speak to somebody that makes a lot of money,
Good point.
right? And here's something that I'll show you, Mark, that is crazy, right? So in your business, right, everything is a circle.
Okay.
It's a circle, right? Everything's a circle, right? From the call, the person that says, hey, I want to get qualified, right? Boom, they get qualified, they give you all their information, right? And when people don't work on their craft, they take you all over the place.
Mhm.
Oh, well, no. Real estate's the same thing.
Where's your damn process?
It's the same
Where's
thing.
your cycle? Absolutely. Yes, sir.
It's the same thing. And what happens is people want to take everybody on a roller coaster ride. Doesn't matter if it's a $100,000 buyer or a $2 million buyer, right? Yeah, the $2 million buyer, they're like well-versed. They know all this stuff that you can't, but it's a circle. Everything is a process, right?
Mhm.
Process is the same. You talk to them the same. Doesn't matter. And what happens is a lot of people, when they don't work on their craft, they're all over, because they start switching stuff up. They start saying, oh, and then it's crazy. No,
That's right.
that's why the craft is important, right? That's why it's like, hey, sell me this pen. Yeah, it's white. It's badass. It writes. It's actually a nice pen. So that's the key, is like work on your craft.
Honing in on it and falling in love with what you do, whether it has gotten you to the place that you want to end up or not, it's what you chose. So don't do it half-ass. Do it with your whole ass.
Man, that's funny, because now, so I can preach, right? So it's crazy.
Please take me to church.
So here's the thing, right? Like, people want to do things, right? But the way that people want to do it is like, oh, I'll put 1 foot in
Mhm.
and
I'm gonna add to that.
Okay.
People want to do things. Nah, they want to try things.
Okay.
Because there is a difference. And I think our great Yoda said it best when he said, there is no try. There is only do or don't do.
Or don't do. Wow. So, and that's crazy, because for me, no, it's 2 feet in. I run a business, not a hobby.
Boom.
That's
Yes,
it.
sir. Yeah.
Like, I run a business.
Yes,
like,
sir.
I'm a business guy. My hobby is tacos, baby.
I just thought of another quote. Jay-Z said, I'm a businessman, so let me handle my business, man.
Yeah, that's it, right? So think about it. A business pays you,
Mm-hmm.
a hobby doesn't.
No.
So why are you going to do 1 foot in and 1 foot out?
That's right.
Because you got to spend money to make money. And some people don't want to do that.
Some people aren't willing to do that. Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah.
Even when they know that I've been told by this person, that person, I've seen this person, I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah.
Why? Fear? Maybe. I don't know. Do you not believe in yourself enough that, hey, at the end of the day, even if you fail, did you learn something? I've talked about this maybe a couple times, but the idea of flipping properties comes about, and my wife and I had always used our primary residence as kind of like the flip concept. We live in it for 3 years. We'd move to the next one. We'd hold on to it, rent this one out. We'd buy the next one that needed plenty of work. We'd go in and rehab it completely, live in it for 2 to 3 years, hold on to it, and move on. That's how we built our portfolio at a certain point in time. Then fast forward, and we got the opportunity to start flipping some houses. We had some money tucked away, and it was like, you know what? Let's take a crack at it. And people would say, well, what happens if you fail? I mean, I've heard of people losing their ass on that.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, the philosophy behind that is, look, I went to college, didn't graduate, but I went to college. I paid, I don't have any more student loans left, nothing like that. But I paid a pretty good penny to go to college and be a part of that, what they're doing, what was preached to me, go to college, go to school, get grades, et cetera, et cetera. But the idea with flipping property or any kind of risk that you take utilizing your investments, your ass is on the line, basically. By you, let's say that first flip that we did, let's say we lost 10 grand, 20 grand. Are we going to go, damn, we lost our money. Let's take our toys and pack up and go home. Or are we going to go, you know what? That was a $20,000 lesson that we probably couldn't get in college. Let's take what we've learned and do that shit again the right way.
Yep.
And better, and not do the shit that we did just now that allowed us to lose the 20 grand. So did we lose 20 grand or did we get a $20,000 education?
$20,000 education.
It's a mindset.
Mindset. You know, I want to go back to something that you just said that's really important, right? I think growing up, a lot of people were told, hey, you go to school, you graduate,
Mm-hmm.
you get educated, and then you go work for somebody for 50 years and then you die.
Right.
It's crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Like, no, like that's not it. Like what God gave you, you go out and do it and that's it. Like
Mm-hmm.
simple as that. You treat people right. You learn your craft. Your biggest why is why. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
doing this?
That's right.
Like if your why doesn't make you cry, then fuck, it's not big
It's
enough.
not big enough. Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. Yes, sir.
It's not big enough.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't check their why. They just like, oh, it's cool, right? Because the why's got them really, man, like, it's crazy, right? Because I've sat down with a lot of people and I try to teach them because I'm going to give you everything I've got. Like at the end of the day, there's no secret. I'll collab with you. I want to sit at the table where people make money and not talk about people. That's what I want to do.
Amen.
And it's funny because you ask them, well, what's your why? Oh, just want to have money. Like, no, like, what's your why? Like, what is it? You know what I'm saying? Like for me, my kids are my why, that's the biggest thing.
That's right.
That, and because at the end of the day, like I didn't have the silver spoon. I had to work hard. Like, man, back in the day, if I wanted to go from Payless to Reeboks, I had to work in the fields. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the part that if I can get to somebody to understand this, right? Work so fucking hard that you don't have to be checking your app to see if you can even afford Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Like it should be a part where you're like, don't got to check your bank account. You know you can strike the check and it doesn't affect you, right? And another thing that's really important, Mark, that I really see that a lot of people don't know, they don't know what they're worth, how much they're worth.
That's very strong.
And,
That's very strong.
And
Yes,
here's the thing, right? So sit down with somebody and be like, okay, well, how much did you make last month? Oh, I made 9,000. Okay, 9,000. All right. So let's break it down. So by the time you took it all, put it all, broke it down, about 6,200, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I made 9,000. Okay. All right. So what you got for the next 30 days? Oh, I ain't got nothing. 60 days, nothing. 90 days, nothing. 120. All right. So let's break it all down.
That's right.
120 divided by, so my friend, you're worth $7 an hour. How's that look?
That's strong.
Oh, no, I made 9. No. In sales, baby, you better fill up that pipeline because at the end of the day, I know how much I'm worth an hour.
That's right.
And you need to know that you're worth $7 an hour.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people won't break that down.
And I think a lot of people don't understand the concept that I'm going to jump into sales and I'm going to be good at sales and then I'm going to go spend my money. Then I'm going to go be good at sales and then I'm going to go spend my money. And what ends up happening is just like you said, somebody stops them, hopefully, and shows them the value of their time.
Yep.
And the idea of growing their value per hour, per interaction, per transaction, because in our industry, it starts over every month. Every month. And there is, in the beginning, that mindset of, oh my God, it's starting over every month. And in my opinion, that person is already behind. Why? Because you are thinking about it as it's starting over every month when you technically should be thinking about 60, 90 days in advance.
Yep.
I'm talking about this is my pipeline and the person that I'm going to call that I'm going to work on today, that's going to pay me in 180 days. They don't think about that. It's always scrounging for the next deal. And I think that has a lot of impact, especially in today's market, the most recent market that we're in right now.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is on the real estate and lending side back to paycheck. And it's like we're the ones preaching the other way. But yet it's crept back up on a lot of folks because they didn't keep the right mindset that allowed them to do those consistent things on a regular basis that got them to where they were making consistent money. They didn't need to check their app to see if they could afford this. Matter of fact, they were starting to invest in things. Yep. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're living paycheck to paycheck again.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is that, and I'm talking from a realtor's point to understand this,
sure.
Right? Because when I broke it down, and I was like, man, like you see how much you're worth your time. That's just like, wow, right? But I think what happens
how great or how little it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what happens is a lot of people, they get like, okay, I got I got this. It's going to make 12 grand. And, oh, I got to carry it all the way down to the finish line. But there's nothing else I can do because this is priority right now. No, it doesn't work that way.
No.
Like, you get it where it's crazy, where your anxiety goes up, where you got like 10, 12 deals and you're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's like, yeah,
Yes.
there's not ramen noodle no more,
That's
baby.
right.
It's coming. Prime. Is it J Prime, right? Something like that, right? So you got to look at all those things. And I think that's why people really need to sit down and they need to work on their business and understand like, hey, what am I worth an hour? What am I worth, right? If somebody's calling me and be like, hey, come over here, hang out. Like, no, like it's got to bring value to me. That's the key. And until they understand the business part of
Sure.
like, hey, be anal about like, know how much you need to make, know how much you like, how many calls you need to make, like be consistent, like stop the fucking excuses. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes,
crazy.
sir.
And don't think like, by all means, like it took me a long time to get here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't have an excuse for anything. Like at the end of the day, I get up, I don't need an alarm. I'm ready to do it. Like that's it. Right. And it's crazy. I still had a great year and I took most of the summer off.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. And I'm already checked out.
But you've already established your needle moving activities.
Yeah.
You know what needed to be rid from your business, your daily activities, the distractions, the good and the bad ones,
Yep.
and are cognizant. That's just this EQ that I talk about. Your emotional intelligence and aware and confident enough that you can judge yourself.
Yep.
A lot of folks are not willing or able to do that because they just don't look broader. It's always right here. When you start doing this, you're able to absorb over here, put things into perspective, be able to go, okay, bird's eye view. If I continue to do that, it's going to take away from this, which this is necessary to continue to keep the wheel spinning.
Yep.
That why that I have, whatever it may be, that stops because I'm now distracted with this, that, and the third. And I think that a lot of realtors, loan officers, we get caught up in the benefits that we yield and forget about what it takes to get there or what it took us to get there.
Yeah. And the key on this is like, man, I still have so much to learn, right? Because there's a lot of people in this industry that I respect, I look up to, and like, I want to hear them talk, and then I'll be like, okay, I like this, I'll put this, and then, but a lot of people don't want to do that, man. It's, sometimes you got to step back, right? Like you really got to step back in life and you got to look at stuff that drives you, right? Like I was just talking to somebody the other day, like, and I said, hey, look, do you like every night tossing and turning and like stressed out and not knowing? Like, no, like stop the excuses already. Like get up, like make a change, right? Because we're getting ready to go into a new year, right? And what happens? Oh, new me, and then you know what I'm saying? And we know that the gym
resolution that lasts about 2 months, maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah, and then people get kicked in the teeth, and they're like, oh, the sky's falling. No, like at the end of the day, it's like, no, you got to work on yourself daily, right? And that's the crazy part. Like people don't want to do that. They're just like. There's like, oh, the excuses, like the sky's falling. Man, we all got stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? And the way I look at it is, look, I've learned to like take off whatever's going on, put it down, go do what I got to do, pick it up, put it back on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all dealt with cards, and some people just allow that to just absorb them, and then just like, no, well, everything's falling, the sky's falling, the tires are flat. Like, no, man, like get up, do what you got to do. Like you. And the part is like, you got to take the time to find your happy place, to know like what drives you, what's going to get you back. Like, don't be scared to pick up the phone and call people and be like, hey, look, sorry, I fucked up. I ain't called you in a long time, but man, I'm back in it. Like I'm back in it. Like seriously.
That is a incredible concept just right there that you're mentioning. The idea of what people are going to think, what they're going to say about me.
Yeah.
I fucked up, so I'm just going to hide from it all. I'm going to hide and it'll go away. It doesn't end up going away. Memory tends to last longer. That feeling tends to continue on to the next deal, next transaction. the vibes that you are currently attracting because you're hiding from something that you know you should do and it's the right thing to do, but you just can't do it because of your fear of what you think that person's now going to think versus, in my opinion, making sure you protect who the hell you are. We're human.
Yep.
You fuck up. If you're able to be aware that you fucked up, why can't you be strong enough, believe in yourself enough that you own it? Had a situation come recently. One of the loan officers had a deal bust. I mean, it was damn near, and mind you, they were going through something. And there are plenty of reasons as to why certain things happen. But the idea is, one, we were able to jump in, help that person out, get those buyers to the finish line, et cetera, et cetera. But all the while, that time that had passed, this person was scared to reach back out to the agent because she dropped the ball. This person was scared to reach out to the buyer because they brought the ball. And in the end, it's like, hey, do me a solid. I'm going to challenge you to go against the grain and what your mind and heart and everything is telling you to do right now, because that's that fear voice, the little angel and demon on one side and the other. This one's like, yeah, pitchfork, bitches.
Yeah.
That one was winning at the time. But the idea behind, if you rip that Band-Aid off, despite how they react, because I guarantee you, real estate is a small world. You're going to run into this person again, guaranteed.
Yep.
That next time you run into them, I promise you, it will not be an awkward moment. Why? Because you did what everybody else is unwilling to do.
Exactly.
Straight up.
Yep.
The hard thing.
Exactly. And that's where we get to this thing that says, what will people say about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's take all the other stuff out. Let's
Absolutely.
take out real estate. Let's take out all of that, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want people to know that the day I leave this earth, man, that my kids, where somebody can be like, man, your dad was an awesome dude. Like, that's it. Like, hey, your dad, he like literally helped me. That's it. Like, I don't ever, and I tell clients this, they freak out. I tell clients this. I say, look, you're going to buy a house once, but you're probably going to buy 5 or 6 with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at me like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, it's going to happen. Like, I have the Sanchez family, they're on number 9. And I met them in a 340 square foot trailer. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And the thing is that I helped them. I developed the plan. We came up and then boom, boom. And even the last transaction happened like 6 months ago. And she says, Rudy, I'm not going to call you anymore. I'm not buying. I'm like, yeah, you are. You'll call me next year. So, but that's the thing is like, what are people going to say about you?
Yeah.
So I tell my clients this, I'm going to do you right all the time because I never, ever want to be at a place sitting down, having dinner with my kids and you come up to me and say, hey, you screwed me.
Mm-hmm.
No. I wouldn't be able to walk into a room where like people are like, hey, what's up? Like, that's it. Like, I want people to know that anything, they can say good stuff about me.
Yeah.
And my clients, they say good stuff about me because when I get referrals, they're like, oh man, they told me to call you. They said you're the best, right? And it's crazy because let me tell you something. I start to like, man, sometimes you got to watch me because I like,
It's all right.
So I sold a house. Hopefully, I sold a house years ago in King William area, right?
Okay.
Never forget this. And military gentlemen, and you as you're starting to learn the business, you're just like, okay, well, hey, military people, you got to tell them like, hey, thanks for your service, all that. Well, of course. Well, I didn't know that his wife was a 2-star general.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I didn't know that. So here's where I'm going back, right? So it's crazy.
And maybe it's better that you didn't know that up front.
Well, and because I'm pretty wild, man. Like, but I make it fun, right? And a couple of months ago, I get a call, right, from a gentleman, and he's like, hey, military, blah, blah, blah. And, they referred you. They said you were the best. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. He's like, yeah, I'm coming in. He's like, got to see houses. And I was like, all right, great. So, comes in and all this. And then, I show up and, he looks at me. Yep. He's like, hey, how are you? I'm like, good. All right, cool. And then, we start going through the day and we're all in Stone Oak area. And then at the end, he's find a house, right? Him and his wife. And then I said, sir, what do you do in the military? He says, I'm a 2-star general. Sir, forgive me if I have acted wrong, and crazy. But it's funny. He's like, no, he's like, so-and-so said you were good. And man, you've streamlined everything perfect. And that's the thing is like, what will people say about you? Like, damn, he's the best.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything else, right? I mean, Grant Cardone says, get yourself a bunch of haters. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But at the end of the day, like you want to be like, people are going to say that hey, the day you leave and your legacy, that they're going to come and tell your kids or your family, like, hey, your dad was freaking awesome, regardless of the fact, like, hey, if he didn't have, he was going to figure it out and he's going to help us out. That's it.
And it's so funny that this conversation even comes about the way that it is. I've got something right here as a reminder. This is a quote. Matter of fact, one of my wife's friends that went to high school with, great guy, one Christmas brought me a plaque. And on the plaque, the quote in itself was so impactful to me that I now wear it every day. And it says, may you be proud of the work that you do, the person you are, and the difference that you make. And this is me writing that as a reminder to myself because it is in no one else's control to create my narrative, my legacy, my perception of what people think about. Matter of fact, I don't care what you think about me. I know what I've done for people. I know what other people do for me. I want to be proud of the things that I've accomplished. I want to be proud of the failures that I've had and overcome. I want to be able to share my story with other people at some point in time and them go, you know what? I'm going to listen to that because there's no ill intentions. It's intended from a good place.
Yep.
And if he can do it, I can do it. Yep. And I mean that. Like, it's one of those things like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yep. Very true.
Whoa. You know what I mean? At a certain point, you reflect back on those things and then you start chopping it up and you go, oh, it was that one relationship that I was on that plane and that hit me in the face like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
Oh, it was that customer that could not qualify, but we were able to do this for them. It was that one person over here that was on their last dime in the position that I was in when I needed it the most, that I gave them $20 and it changed their course.
Yep.
All of those things start to add up into this legacy.
Yes.
But I think the most impactful piece that people forget is they want to create these fake narratives and fake what facade you see.
Yeah.
That wears off. The longevity has to do with a daily agreement that you make with yourself, kind of like the cold plunges we were talking about.
Yep.
You're damn right it sucks.
Sucks.
Every time.
It's cold.
But I made a commitment to myself, my body, to be able to do that until I see fit, you know? Yeah. But the idea is find whatever it is that makes you the best person in your craft, hone in on it, sharpen your tools, like you say,
yep,
and live by that. What are people going to say? Because I am not going out and partying with you guys. I'm working on my craft. I don't care what you say. Yep. I don't care what you think.
Yeah. You know, it's going back. It's, you know, I'm really real, man. It's crazy. I am, you know, you always got to remember this. And this is key, right? And I think people need to look at your kids are always watching you.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching you.
Yes, sir.
Regardless of the fact, right? And my kids have seen me do stuff that, like, hey, Dad, why did you give that homeless guy your meal? Why did you give him tacos? Why did you give him money? I'm like, son, because we're on this earth to do good things, man. My daughter sees that. And the thing is, because I got to remember where I came from and where I'm at now.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, like, I want my kids to be like, whether it's my daughters that take over my business, my son, it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, it's like, no, my dad was a good fucking man, regardless of the fact. He would give you the shirt off his back. That's it. That's bottom line. Like, I love real estate. I love helping people. Like, man, people can call me and I get people call me and man, kick them in the ass and be like, well, you want me to feel sorry for you? Like, no, everybody's going through shit. Like, get up and get things done, right? And then I think people freak out. They're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Like, no, like, what did you want? Like, you want me to like a shoulder to cry on? Like, no, like you go to church and they, boom, they hit you. You're like, oh, shoot. You know what I'm saying?
It may have not been what you wanted.
Yeah.
But more than likely, it's what you needed.
Yeah. But here's, the thing that, Mark, we all have the same hours, the same seconds. We have to choose what we do wisely, right? Yeah. And by the grace of God, I'm so glad, right, that I was able to change my legacy, my everything, right? Like, because it's cool, man. Like I go back and be like you said, like, oh man, would I have been in jail? Would I have been dead? And like, nah, man, I'm a business guy, right? And I remember getting my hands tatted and you're like, oh my God, you got your hands tatted. I'm like, I already made it, baby. It's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? I still wear suits and stuff like that. But the thing is, sometimes we really, man, we got to work on ourselves too. Like one, like you want to be a good person. You want people to talk good about you, like the law of attraction, man. Like my energy is like man, like you have no idea.
I feel it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like this is me all the time, right? But I've had to learn. Yeah. Because not everybody likes it.
You're right.
And you have to know that because clients, like I learned a lesson probably like 6 years ago when I had a big team. My assistant's like, oh, they're in the conference room waiting for you, right? I was like, all right, cool. Got my stuff. Walked in. Hey, what's up, guy? The guy literally shut down. I was like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. They didn't buy from me.
Yeah.
Because he was a little shorter.
Sure.
And he was like, no, like, dude, you're too much.
Yeah.
They didn't buy from me. So I had to learn how to adjust. 1, 2, 3. Oh, those are so hard for me.
Absolutely.
Man. I'm a fucking 10. Like, let's go, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's so hard. So just, so that's
but that is also a testament to you studying and working on your craft because at the end of the day, there are others that would jump into that room and blame that customer for not buying with them.
Yeah. He didn't buy from me because I was like too loud. Like I was just like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's literally, I saw him and I saw it like when it happened because I would, hey guy, and it was like,
yep.
And I was like, all right, we're going to get this done. Man, they walked out. They never called me.
Yeah. Important to note to folks, people want to buy the way that they want to be sold. Right?
Hard lesson, man. I didn't know. I thought like people want this over the top guy, but fuck, that one bit me. You know what I'm saying? And then I learned when I stepped back, I was like, okay, like now you got to know, like, hey, monotone. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so now you know 1, now 2, like level 3, level 4. And then, man, when I meet a 10, it's like, it's on, baby. You know what I'm saying? So
true.
It's crazy. So those are things I've had to learn, right? Because I had to go back and be like, yeah, why didn't, okay, well, I was too aggressive and I was just this and that. And I was like, I got to change that. And you know what I'm saying? And now I got it all down. Like, seriously, you know what I'm saying? I see the people that like, okay, I can joke around with them or, you know what I'm saying? Like, welcome home. You know what I'm saying?
True.
It's true. You got to learn all that stuff. And those are stuff they don't teach you.
Correct.
Like people think like, oh, I got my license. All right, cool. Now what? That stuff in school didn't teach you shit.
Well, I'll even go as far as to say that even if it was essentially taught to you in some class, some training, etc., you're not going to get it or acquire it until you go through it. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things like when you learn a lesson, until it hurts, you're probably not going to learn that lesson. Yep. People will ask, I want to learn how to play poker. And I'm like, get ready to lose your ass.
Yeah.
Because you realistically are just playing until you start losing and it hurts.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember that. You're going to think you're getting lucky and all this other stuff. No. Poker's kind of like life.
Yep.
It will teach you.
Yeah.
If you listen. There are lessons throughout this son of a gun, but if you don't pick up on them, oh well.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to really work on your craft as an individual for everything, right?
Yeah.
But I think the last thing before I go today is something key though, right? Because it's really important. Top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that a lot of people don't know how to do.
So that's a great opportunity for me to ask the following. In the last 12, 13 years, you as a realtor, learning the craft, taking your lumps, etc., building a team, growing a team, losing a team, all of the things that we've gone through, what has allowed you to stay relevant and top of mind and in the eyes of audiences that may end up utilizing your craft consistently? What is it that keeps you in the relevancy of that?
Yeah. So it's crazy, Mark. So I got invited to take a class, right? And they were like, "Oh, you want to stay top of mind? It's gonna cost you this much." And I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of money." But they're like, "No, it's gonna work." And I was like, "All right." So bit the bullet, right? Got to spend money to make money. And if you follow me on social media, you'll see it. Like, I'm very consistent. I don't post any craziness. A lot of stuff is funny, personal, real estate, and then it kind of just dabbles on, right?
And for those of you that are listening, that is literally why Rudy is sitting in this room today.
Yeah.
I for days saw the energy, who he was, coming through his social media, and I went, I've got to meet this guy.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is I took on tacos, right? So tacos, I took it on as being a top of mind guy, right? So I'd post about tacos, right? And people are like, "Shit, Rudy, you eat tacos every day or what?" And like, no. So it's again, I brought you some tacos
Absolutely.
today because
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to show you, like, hey, here's brisket marble. It's good for your
Absolutely.
heart, baby, and work it out, right? So tacos to me is like top of mind, right? And it's crazy because I have people that will inbox me. They're like, "Hey, I was having lunch with my coworker. We're having tacos. She's gonna buy a house. I told her she needs to call you." I'm like, cool. So you got to pick something that people will gravitate to or talk about. Like this morning, I said, "Good morning, beautiful people, except the people that like corn tortillas with the tacos." You know what I'm saying? Like I use that stuff. But
I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
You're eating a taco.
Yeah. But you gotta. The thing is, like people have to understand, like, social media is a free platform.
Yes, sir, it is.
And you got to use it
100%.
for your advantage, not about, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, let's like, hey, let's talk about good stuff, like energy. And I get it. Some people, like, hey, I'll post on there like, "Hey, please pray for me because the taco place messed up my order." You know what I'm saying? But I use that where stay top of mind and tacos, and people were like, "Hey, Rudy," they see me like, "Oh, taco," you know what I'm saying? And that has helped me to leverage to do things right. And that is key.
And I think, what that class taught you, definitely, I guarantee you they talked about consistency. Guarantee you they talked about finding a brand, something that you can associate with, that people will attach themselves to. And that has a lot of psychology behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Before we started this, we looked it up over here. JC, can you throw this up on the screen real quick? We were thinking about the concept of when you go and buy a red car, all of a sudden you drive off the lot and what do you see? Nothing but red cars everywhere. Weird. Are there that many red cars, or is your mind associating that with it? And absolutely. And the concept is Badar-Manoff phenomenon. We looked that up, and it's a frequency illusion. The idea behind your mind associating what your experience was or what you just saw, social media, tacos, relatability, and applying it now to your current state and what you've got going on.
Yep.
That's genius. And utilizing something that we inherently have, do, practice, etc., to leverage in being top of mind.
Yep.
Pretty smart.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I've used it for a long time. And it's funny because Sandra Ronhale,
Yeah.
she bought me
Great friend. Love her.
She bought me some taco socks years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love Sandra too. So anyways, so it's you utilize those things and you use your social media. It's a free platform for you to show people and drive them to get to know them, the law of attraction, and then you do business with them, and it's cool, right? And that's the part where I utilize all that. Like you'll never see, you can go on my social media and you won't see me like posting crazy stuff, about anything. I don't talk politics, religion, all that, but at the end,
another thing that I noticed that you do, I preach about it, I coach about it, is you are not drilling the people in your audience about real estate, real estate,
No.
real estate, real estate, real estate. Guess what, guys? They've got 15, 16 other realtors on their friends list that are doing the same thing. How are you going to stand out, separate yourself from the pack that's going real estate, real estate, real estate? Be you.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Matter of fact, example right here. This morning I woke up and let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So, lady I went to school with, okay? Great person, is always positive and doesn't use platform to bitch or anything like that. She's not in our industry, anything like that. But the idea is she posted a very vulnerable picture of herself. And she's in the state of, you can tell she's overwhelmed. It is something hit her that it was like, God damn, this is hard. This is hard. And it says, posting this because it's real. And I truly believe that one person's story can help another person get through the day. Stress, anxiety, and everything can be the best of you. Keep going. Even when you look like this, even when it feels like this, you've got this.
Man, that's so good.
And I'll show you the picture right there. Like, that's vulnerable as you can possibly get.
Yep.
And I told her, where is it? I said, great message. Vulnerability and humility is not easy by any means, but it is the fact where we find our biggest growth. Thanks for sharing. And hey, by the way, you've got this too.
Hell yeah. You know, I think before we go, Mark, I think, you know, a lot of people need to step back sometimes, right? Because now in society, it's all about, you know, it's like the hustle, the go, and all this, right? And I think my buddy was asking me last night, he's like, hey, you like Jim's restaurant, right? And I was like, dude, I love Jim's. I'm like, I go to this one and
That tortilla soup.
Yeah, there you go. So I go there sometimes and I unplug, right?
Yeah.
And I sit down, I get my salad, get my tortilla soup, and then I reflect like, hey, I step back, right? Because like at the end of the day, people need to do that, because the one thing about it is, what if you encounter somebody that's like getting ready to do something that they shouldn't, and you're that one person that God puts you in that, and you got to have that right mind. Just, hey, even if you smile, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, that's the biggest thing, is that people need to take back a step and really, like, yes, focus on themselves, but maybe help out some other people, right? I mean, I'm so glad and blessed where I'm at, because I'll never go back to the person I was, because that will never happen, right? And I'll take other people with me, you know what I'm saying, to help, right? And that's the key. Like, I'm a giver, man. Like, dude, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what team, whatever. Like, let's go. At the end of the day, because I know how it felt to have not even $43 to even pay a water bill, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And that's the thing that is, I'll never go back to that. And I'm glad that I'm here. I'm able to do what I love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now it's just still working on my craft. Like, again, like, I'm getting ready to do my goal sets again and try to get that figured out and be like, okay, great. You know, I did take a lot of time off in the summer, but it was cool. I spent it with my kids, you know, all that. But at the end of the day, like, people really need to find out, like, what's your why? Why? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? It does not matter. It's never too late to start. Like, you got to get back and be like, no, I got to get back. I got to go back, and I started to do this, boom, 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 right? And then if you're going to get into something, it doesn't matter what business it is, be the best at your craft.
That's right.
So before we wrap up, right? Or you tell me when you wrap up.
Hey.
So I go back, right? So
Hey, you like this, huh?
oh, I love it.
It's pretty
man.
cool.
Oh man, you have no clue. I love public speaking too. So anyways, but I go back and I used to tell my team, like, hey, this weekend I want you to watch a movie. And they're like, oh, which movie? The Pursuit of Happiness.
Great message.
I like to go back to The Pursuit of Happiness, right? Where the guy is, you know, in the restroom with his son, and he's sitting there and he's like, man, and, you know, they're trying to get in, somebody's trying to get in the restroom, and the guy never stopped.
Right.
Like he freaking became like the top of the top. Regardless, he got hit by a car, he still showed up, and he's like, man, and sometimes people need to go back and find that fire, man, because we all have cards that we dealt with, right? Some have dealt with them, some just said, screw it, fold it up and whatever, right? Like, go back and see something that's gonna drive you. And I have to go back because, man, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Where the guy was just like, man, he's like, you know, the guy's like, oh, it's a time machine. And, you know, no, like literally because it sells, right? Because it puts you in a position to say, like, literally it's because it's based on a true story. Like the guy was with his kid. Imagine that you're with your kids in some place and you're just like, man, I got to figure this out. And I'm glad that I had that aha moment where I was like, no, like, you're broke, dude. Wake the fuck up already. Like, enough is enough, right? They put on their shoes the same way, their pants the same way. They turn on the computer the same way. There's nothing different.
That's right.
And that's why, like, now I'm just so passionate of helping. And I love real estate, man. And it's cool that my business comes in. Like, I get to work with who I want to when I want to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to be, but
that's very true.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like, I love it. And again, but I work on my craft, and that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't see, right? They like, yeah, I literally work on my craft, and I sit there and I spend the money to go to the conferences. I spend the money for this and that, but it's to help grow so that when I meet the person that needs the help, I'm going to help them too. And that's key.
You're equipped to be able to fulfill that fiduciary responsibility whichever way and whatever is thrown at you, because you are taking the time to invest in yourself and hone in on your craft and to even parlay on the pursuit of happiness. But the song version, not everything that shines or glitters is always gold.
Wow.
So get rid of the distractions. Find out where the real gold is. And it's going to be, I guarantee you, every single fucking time, it's way deeper than what you thought.
Yep.
So don't just skim the surface of stuff. Dive in. Go all the way in. Man, there were so many key factors talked about in this episode. Those out there listening, I told you it was going to be a little bit of a change of pace, and I hope we fulfilled that for you. But we didn't talk a lot about real estate today. It had a lot about the person, who you are, what you can become, what road bumps, what adversities that you're going to go through and overcome. Because I will tell you, based on my experience, you can't avoid adversities your whole life. You're either going to allow those adversities to define you one way or another. And it's either you're going to make that adversity be the crutch or the cripple that just defeats you, or the thing that fuels the rest of your career, your life, and continues to grow upon and add upon the building blocks, because it always starts with a foundation. In my opinion, your foundation was hitting that runway, getting to the game, getting back and going, oh shit.
Yep.
I'm about to lose all of the respect that I thought I had, all of this stuff. Come to find out, they don't care about that shit.
Yep.
They don't. They want to see you succeed.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think you want to see others succeed out there just equally as well.
Oh, heck yeah. Big time. Big time.
Rudy, this has been enlightening. It's been a solid reminder, and I think a lot of folks out there needed this.
Yep.
I'm incredibly grateful for being able to sit with you and glad you shared your full transparent story with us. I know there's folks out there that are going, man, I didn't get any real estate stuff, but shit, I got some act right today.
Yeah.
And I needed that.
Yeah, you know, and I always say before we go, right? I ain't go for hours no more. But here's one thing, Mark, that it's a key, right? Because I want to say this, right? And like parents, you know, my dad died, passed away a long time ago, and you know, I got my mom and everything like that. But here's the part that people need to look at something, right? Like at one point, be at a position where you're like gonna be like, hey, mom, dad, pack your bags. We're going out of the country for 10 days. Don't worry about it. I got you. Like, put a goal so big that it fucking scares you.
Woo, yes, sir.
And that's the thing that when I tell you, like, do everything you got to do, work on your craft, your why and everything, that at the end of the day, you can go to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister and be like, hey, man, I know you've had it rough the past couple of years, but we're going to get away for 10 days and it's all on me. That's the thing that people need to look at and put that as a goal to say, man, I just took my whole family on vacation. I paid for everything and it's cool. And it didn't even put a dent in my pocket. That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, Rudy, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for joining me. And I already know the title of this one. It's basically Laugh and Cry, but don't be afraid to try. And the try is going to be crossed out and it's going to say do real big.
Wow.
Okay. Those of you out there listening, hopefully you got something out of this. I say this at the end of every episode. This was not intended to scare you. It wasn't intended to do anything other than give you some perspective from the eyes of somebody else who has been there, done that, and failed at that, and continued and pushed forward and found the fuel that they needed in order to overcome the adversities. And it wasn't just one adversity, it's multiple adversities. And you will face that. You will find that. As you're growing, as you are doing the steps that it takes to actually grow, you'll find that there's going to be more adversities than you ever even imagined. There's going to be more haters than you ever even imagined. It's okay. Let them talk. Let them do whatever they're going to do. You stay true to yourself. Focus on your craft. Focus on your why. And don't try. Go out and do it. That being said, guys, I promise to continue to provide you guys with more experts, more experiences, more hopefully motivation to help you grow as a person, as a professional, as an entrepreneur, realtor, mortgage lender, etc. But this was a fantastic episode. I want to thank you one more time, Rudy, for joining me today. Those of you out there listening, if you're getting something from this, please make sure to like, subscribe, share this with a friend. Especially this one, you never know who could need what we were just talking about today. So that being the case, guys, we will catch you on the next one.